Peter is the immovable rock, and Protestants are wrong about this. Why are they wrong? Well, the claim usually goes something like this. The Greek does not call Peter Petra, but Petros. Probably did not say that correctly, which means detached stone. Now, when you go into the Greek from Matthew 16, verse 18, you have something right here. You find it right here. Petros. This is when Jesus is saying to Simon, "Blessed are you, Simon." Oh, blessed are you. Forget how the verse actually goes. "Blessed are you, Simon, but now your name shall be Peter." He's renaming Simon with Peter. This means stone, though. Petros means stone. And then you go later on, and when Jesus says, "Upon this rock I will build my church," he uses Petra. Used by Matthew to describe the rock on which Jesus will build his church on. This means in Greek, the immovable rock. So there's already a distinction here, which means, checkmate Catholics, you're wrong. Actually, Peter is not the Pope, and he was not the rock upon which Jesus built his church. Well, let's actually know about this in the language Jesus spoke to his disciples. Cephas would have been the word used when Jesus was renaming Simon to Peter. That's why we even get to call Simon Peter, because Cephas is Peter. Cephas means rock, and Jesus would have used the same word when he said, "Upon this rock I built my church." Now, this means that Peter is the immovable rock that Jesus has built his church on, because both of these words would have been the same word used to describe Peter, Simon's new name, to Peter, and also simultaneously the same word used when Jesus was saying, "Upon this rock I'll build my church," which means they're the same. And it gives us the understanding that he wasn't saying in Caesarea Philippi, "I'm building my church on this rock, the bedrock of Caesarea Philippi." No, I'm building the rock upon Peter, the Holy See, the Pope. Right? This means, yeah, I already went through that. But you have people like Nigar.net who say, it doesn't matter because the Greek is Petros, not Petra. There was a distinction. It doesn't matter what language Jesus spoke. Checkmate Catholics! Okay, calm down. Let's calm down a little minute. Let's go back to the Greek. Why does Matthew use Petros and not Petra? It is because of gender. If you know any language like Spanish or French, you know gender has a lot to do with the words. This is the same thing in Greek. According to the Greek Academy on YouTube, which I'll leave the actual link to this video in the description below, but when you have a masculine noun in Greek, like Simon, what you are describing of him or calling of him has to also be masculine as well. That's why there's a distinction. Not because they're two separate things Jesus is talking about, but because of gender. Matthew is a tax collector. He knows how to write in Greek, and he's going to write in it very, very well. So when he's writing this, he's going to be using the same grammar laws. Because of this is why when Jesus is calling Simon Peter, he's using Petros, because Petros is masculine. And when Jesus goes on to say, "My church I built my church upon this rock," church will be feminine, and that's why Petra is feminine. That's why there's a distinction. It's because of gender. That's the distinction alone. Not in terms of like who's the rock, but because the rock of itself, the rock is Peter. Peter is the rock upon which Jesus built his church. Because he calls Simon Peter, and then in the very breath goes on to say, "Upon this rock I will build my church." It makes sense. It has a whole bunch of other Old Testament parallels. He gives Peter the keys to heaven as well, and the same thing goes on with the Old Testament with the rulers, that kings will have the keys to the kingdom and whatnot. I mean, it makes sense since Jesus is no longer on earth, he's in heaven. He will give his keys, he will give this leadership role to someone, and that someone is Peter. Because he had the ability and the faith to go and say it out loud, that you are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Just beautiful. Now, this is why Peter is also called Cephas. He's called Cephas by Paul as well, throughout the New Testament too. He's called Cephas. He's not using Petros. He's calling him Cephas. The Aramaic name Cephas, which means rock. And that's why I get to say, checkmate, Protestants. Boom! Submit to Rome!